Welcome to this episode of Teachers Talking to Teachers. Today we're talking Bakasana or crow pose.
Or Bakasana.
Or Bakasana. Yeah, exactly. So whenever, one thing we were just talking about, I either teach it one of two ways. It's the peak pose, and we're doing everything and thinking about it all the way to the very end, where we're getting into the pose, or sometimes I sprinkle it in. And I actually teach it differently. So I'm going to start with just some warm-ups that if this is what I was teaching, it's our peak pose, I would start with the wrists because it's, all of our weight's going to be on our hands. So let's just start by bringing your hands forward, parallel to the earth, and then just draw your fingertips down towards you and then up towards the ceiling. I'll just do this a couple times at your own pace. And then bring your hands so they're parallel to the floor and draw your thumbs together, your pointer fingers come together, you'll see kind of like a triangle, and then pinkies apart. And do that a couple times. And then let's try to draw some circles, keeping palms face down. So drawing some circles, relatively palms face down, drawing those circles so the pinkies come out, the thumbs come together. I'm shaking it, I guess I'm nervous. And then just bring your hands down, shake it. Shake it out, Darcie. Shake it. Then let's try that with palms face up, all that same stuff. So draw your fingertips back towards you, towards the earth, and then up towards the ceiling. Let's do that a couple times. And then with your palms face up, pinkies together, thumbs away. And try to draw the circles a little bit. I also taught this morning, so I'm probably feeling it.
Nice.
And then shake that out. Okay, so then from there, what we're going to do is get into a little shoulder isolation. So I'm going to go sideways so you can see. And what we're going to do is, again, bring your hands out. And then if your wrists feel okay, you can press forward. But if your wrists need a break, you can be anywhere you want them. So from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to practice drawing the shoulder blades together. So we're going to try to kind of imagine that the shoulder blades are kissing or getting closer to the spine. And then I want you to push your hands forward. You'll feel the shoulder blades kind of float around to the outside ribs. So this is our pronation, and then we come back, and then, I just blanked. So I was thinking, because I'm pro, and then, yeah, no, this is pronate, and then retraction. Yeah, retraction, thanks to you, protraction. So we'll just play a little bit with that. So, and then when we're in Bakasana, we're actually rounded through, so you can really feel like that. Imagine you're in Bakasana, and then draw them back. Okay. So now come back to neutral shoulders. Let's try some elevation. Draw your shoulders up. We'll just shrug them and then down. And then up. And then down. And then let's put it all together. Let's start with bringing the shoulders up. And then draw them back towards each other. Draw them down to press. And then, pro. And then up. And so we're just drawing a couple circles. Just really feeling and concentrating into the shoulder blades. And then you can try that, reverse it, just to give your brain a little bit of a workout.
What a good one to do right now for all the snow shoveling.
Right, yeah. And then shake all that out, because holy moly. Okay, a couple more little drills I like to do. Get on hands and knees. Grab your block, place it on your back, just between your shoulder blades. And then again, we're just going to play with that same kind of depression and pressing down so you can feel your heart go towards the earth. And then pronate into that mat and just go back and forth here. And what I like to do is, because here we have some weight on our hands, so press into the hands, feel that engagement and that rounding through the spine. Now let's try it one more time, just bring the heart down, the shoulder blades come together. Now press into the hands and now look forward, because in Bakasana we're looking forward. And then release that and see if you can grab your block without it hitting the ground, but it might not, but it's a fun challenge. And then we'll take the block in our forearms and we're going to press. And the thing about this, because I find a lot of people when they're in Bakasana, their hands go a lot like this. So this just helps create the strength of holding everything really tight, right? So then let's draw the shoulders up and then back down, all the while pressing really energetically into the block. So this is a nice one. You can do that a couple times. And again, we're just creating a connection to the body movements that we're going to be working in. So let's come into downward facing dog here. From downward facing dog, bend your knees and then bring your tummy close to the upper thighs. And then straighten your legs. And we'll just do this a couple times, couple pulses. our feet to the top of the mat. Just loosen up the knees a bit and roll up slowly. So one of the balance poses I do when I'm teaching Bakasana, this is nice too. You can do this with a strap, but you're gonna bring your knee up as high as you can. So it might look like this, you might have a strap. And then if you can grab the outside of the foot. And again, I'm just thinking about bringing my knee up as high as I can. Then from here, to make it really active, keep holding and then press your arm against your knee and knee against your arm.
Cool.
Yeah. And then just hold that until you want to cry a little bit. No, just kidding. Put it down. Then you can try the other leg, and same thing. Like, so, you know, some people will be at different places. Some people will be a strap here. Some people will be holding their knee. Some people feel okay grabbing that foot. And then hug everything in tight. So you're just like, oh. Yeah, nice. So this is mimicking. You know, if I brought it down, it's just mimicking where we're going. Whoa. So, okay, so let's come back down into downward facing dog. Bring your feet together. And we're going to do that same, knees come wide. Press into the heels of your hands. Bring your hips back. And then straighten the legs, downward facing dog. So there's a couple little pulses here. This is kind of hyper speed. And then we'll walk our hands back. Practice having weight on our hands. Maybe if you feel comfortable, you can come into a squat. Maybe even balance. Nice. Come on back into downward dog. Awesome. And then come to sit at the top of your mat. So here, just another drill that's fun, is you can go from boat pose, but keep your feet down, and then you can extend one leg out. Draw the knee up and touch. And then try the other foot. See if you like it. See which one you like better. Then if you want, round two, you can come back, and then you can extend one leg, draw the knee out, hold, and try the other leg if you want to give it a go. So all this stuff, we're just working our way and thinking about where we're getting to, right? And it just depends where I'm teaching, how I teach it. So I was saying to you all that I teach a lot of different age groups, so I'll have like a lot of 20-year-olds and then a lot of like rockin' 60 and 70-year-olds in one class. And so for that, then I like to do with, if you have props, take your blocks and you replace them about like 3 inches away from each other. If you want to do this too, Michela. Now, if you don't have bolsters, like usually at a studio there might be a nice bolster, you might only need a bolster. We're kind of make and do, so I'm going to make a little pile. Here you can make your pile. So imagine this a bolster, but look, it works with all this stuff too. I'm going to go sideways just so you can see, and then Michela can go forward so you can see that way. Okay. So what we do is bring your feet together, and then bring your hands so the forearms are pressing up against your bolster, or your whatever you have. Your hands are shoulder width apart, strong hands, idea like Hastabandha, right? Come up onto your toes, and then bring your shins up as high as they can go, and just start to let your weight be on, and your cushions. So from here, look forward, and then think about pressing into the ground. So you'll feel your shoulder blades on like the side ribs there. You can make this really passive, so I'm just kind of hanging out, or I can press strongly into my hands, round through the shoulders, tuck my heels to my butt, and make it really strong. I can even walk my knees forward and make a connection, but I feel really safe here. So that would be, I would go from there, round one, and then we come off. And for round two, I usually teach from the perch, because the hardest thing for a lot of people is getting their knees way up high, I find. And so perching just helps people get their knees up high, and then I'd walk them through, hand shoulder width apart, look forward, because if you look down, you're gonna tumble, right? So looking forward is super important. And then from here, lift your hips and just put some weight on your hands and come back on your perch. And just play with this. If you feel comfortable, lift the hips, bend the elbows, keep looking forward, and then make that connection. Maybe you feel good taking one toe off, maybe the other, and then you feel that activation we did in that balance pose when we're standing. You gotta hug everything in tight, 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 tight. And then come on down whenever you're ready. So beautiful. Okay. What do you think?
Counter pose.
Yeah. Okay.
So coming, do you want me to take
Yeah.
so after I teach crow, child's pose is always my go-to calendar.
Nice.
What about you?
So I go sitting sometimes. Yeah, but a forward fold does feel nice. Yeah.
I always go to child's pose.
Nice.
Because it's after like something that like I kind of feel I'm not unsafe, but like
It's a lot.
it's intense, right?
Yeah.
I really like to just come in and just cradle myself. But for me, really important with child's pose is I always stack my hands or my fists because I want to, for me, relieve like any pressure on the head and the neck or like even just tension anywhere in the body. And I really like to roll out the forehead. That feels really nice for me.
Another one, Michela, might be good is if you brought your hands back and then draw your fingertips up towards the ceiling. Your wrists get a little stretched.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I like the forehead roll. 3 hours later.
So I'm just going to add on a couple other things that I would do when I'm teaching crow. Just adding on to Darcie. So I personally hasta bandha.
Yeah.
Hands are really important for me when I'm teaching this pose. Because we don't put a lot of weight onto the hands, so everybody's got that tendency to kind of pop up into the knuckles or such. So I always start in something like a tabletop. So let's come into a tabletop position. So the wrists underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. And I had a child say this to me recently, which I really like. Really smush your fingers into the dirt. Dana Powell also says a lot in her class. Pretend like you're taking the peanut butter jar cap off,
Oh,
so
yeah.
turning inwards. She says it a lot more eloquent than that, sorry. And I like to start rolling through some cat-cows. So follow your breath, moving in. You start feeling that movement in through the shoulders, and it can be passive, of course, but I really want the focus to be on the hands, all through the strong arms, and feeling the shoulders. Let's roll through 2 more. And then as well, after a cat-cow, I always talk about the extremes of the movement of the spine there, and then you find that beautiful center point. So feeling really strong, core is engaged here. So you can even feel Uddiyana Bandha, right through the center of the core. That's really going to help us fly in our crow. And then we're going to take a little bit of a step forward with the hands, and we're going to move into dancing cat-cow. So as you inhale, moving forward, dipping the hips. As you exhale, rocking back. So this can start really small, but of course we're warm. So moving with the breath forward and back. And again, focus on the hands, focus on the wrists. So warming up the wrists here, as well the core, right? So feeling the center, drawing it in, moving forward, moving back. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more. Nice, so let's just chill for a second and child. Nice, come on, feel ready, come on up. And let's just shake out those wrists.
Cute spaghetti arms. Spaghetti arms.
So I really like when I teach crow, the forward and back movement, because, yeah, I like how you mentioned like the different, like everybody's working out where they're at. Not everybody's just gonna like pop up in a crow pose, and sometimes I don't, but I like rocking into it. Just feeling the power and the strength of like rolling in and rolling back, and having trust in yourself and your body, which is what we really want to be teaching, or at least I want to be teaching in my classes, is everybody having trust in the strength of their bodies and finding variation. So this next one, it's just a bit different. We come into a downward dog, and we're gonna roll just through plank and downward dog. So you inhale to rock forward, and you exhale back. So you can feel the shift of the weight into the hands. You can feel like you're supporting yourself. You're still moving through the wrist, the angles of the wrist here. And right away, you might notice, especially in this, where the wrists are at. So after 1 more, let's lower the knees and move right into a variation. So if the wrists are where you're feeling in crow, or where your students are feeling it with crow, I know you're not allowed props, but you're allowed your mat.
Yep.
So this mat that is actually
Not gonna worry, but
great. Yeah, but for you in the 200 hour, the roll in the mat is really nice to support the wrist.
Just not a V mat.
Yeah, these are great mats.
They're great mats.
Just not for this. But you just create a little bit of extra cushion, and that's where you place the wrists and the fingers come off. So it changes the angle of the front of the wrist here. And then you continue on with that, moving through down dog and plank. So inhaling forward, exhaling back. Nice, let's do one more. And back. And this next one, let's take a nice big step forward with the right foot, toes facing out perfect. You know where I'm going, so Bakasana. And then lowering into that Yogi Squat. And then, yeah, I love movement, so I keep shifting and moving here. Give the hands a little bit of release. We've already warmed up the hips, but I would probably do a couple more hip warm-ups and just movements of the hip to normalize this position before we got here. And then right into crow, but yeah, moving slow. I just start with my hands down and lift the hips. And then you just kind of rock. Nothing more, just rock. And it's quite the feeling, right? Getting the face a little bit closer to the ground. And then let's lower back down, all the way down. Because I just want to demo this one quick. So I do perch differently. Darcie and I were just talking about this. Where she started on the perch, I do it a little bit different. So I want to show you this. You can do it with me too.
Yes, I want to.
But I'm going to do it on the side so you can see. So for my perch, I want to get kind of back in that Bakasana position first. And if I'm ready, I want to kind of get that lift action, engage the Uddiyana Bandha in the core, and move right into my crow. I'm going to find my nice solid hand position here. So spread the fingers in the dirt. Lift the hips nice and high. Find that bend in the elbows. Hug everything in. I like that you said that. Squeeze and just kind of rock forward. Allow the knees to find the back. The knees to find the back of the elbows. And then I can just touch. And then lower. And you can just start side to side touching. You might step all the way up. Ooh, that's what for me. Slips backward. And then, yeah, you can come all the way up. It's beautiful, supportive crow pose. And we lower down. We give ourselves a little break when we're ready. And then come down a little bit when we're ready. And my little release for my wrist as well. After a crow, I like hero's pose here. And I just lower my hands down, yeah. That's nice. Yeah, just to get to the front of the wrist there. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to add.
So the one thing when I'm teaching kids, I don't have props, but I have a wall. So I'll teach that. Do you want to just turn it this way? I'll just teach it on this wall here. So, and kids love the wall. The more wall, the better. They love it so much. So you just come up nice and close to the wall. My butt's kind of just scooch in there. And again, hands about shoulder width or outer shoulder width apart. And then same thing, you just practice putting weight on your hands. And then, you know, you play with it. You scooch in, you scooch out just to get the feel. But you'll just put your feet, well, first bend your elbows, make the contact. And then your feet find the wall. So I'm just scooching. And then you feel like you just hang out here all day. For some reason, just having your feet on the wall, it's crazy how much it changes the pose. So kids love that because it's just freeing for them. And adults too, I do it in class, but you know, when you have all these other props and stuff, but that's when I tend to use the wall the most, I find. Anything else for Bakasana? There's just so much. Like, oh yeah, you know, like hugging opposite shoulders, getting used to just that rounded. Because I think one of the things that stops a lot of people is we're so used to having, like in plank, but we want to round, right? And that idea is like a hard one. So spend a lot of time engaging in that, feeling that roundedness through the shoulder blades, I think is important for success.
I think that in crow as well, just the gaze thing.
Yeah, look forward.
Looking forward, like just
You'll
to remind
see,
the students over and over. And when you see somebody like going into the tilt, like tilting right into it, and they've got it.
I'll come by and I'll put
like
a block, and I'll say, look at the block.
Oh, that's
yeah, I'll be like,
beautiful.
and I'll put the block quite far away because you want to look way far, right? And I'll say, look at the block, and I'll move it back, and then
I sometimes do it with a pillow. But
that's another one too.
It was more the
this
pillow.
is another one too, where you put your forehead right onto that, and you don't feel like you're gonna fall, and then you can lift off. Or if people are afraid, then from the perch, I do a perch and a pillow or a perch and another block,
and then their forehead's right on the block. I do that one too. Set that up for you. And so then they'll just feel more comfortable. They're just like, oh, I can do, this is okay. Yeah. Those are all like handy little dandy things.
Happy inverting.
Happy inverting.